What is up, my beautiful people? What is the S&P 500, SPY, and ES? Today, in the next 10 minutes or so, you will know. All right. Have you ever heard someone say SPY is going up today, or maybe you trade futures like I do, and you type in SPY on Topstep, right? You type in SPY here, and nothing comes up. That confused me when I first started too. So today I'm going to explain the S&P 500, SPY, and ES like you're 5 years old. And by the end of this video, I promise it's going to make sense. Right here, I drew a couple of companies. I'm sure you recognize them: Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Costco, McDonald's, Coca-Cola. Now, these are some of the biggest companies in America. Now, in real life, there are around 500 companies in this group. I'm only drawing a few because nobody wants to watch me draw 500 little boxes. But pretend on top of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there was another 494 companies, okay? Imagine another 494 companies, all right? Now, where's my paintbrush here? This big box right here is called the S&P 500 index. Now here's the important part. The S&P 500 index is not something you can buy. It's simply, let's think of it as a score. Think about your favorite sports team. When you're watching a hockey game or a basketball game or a football game, there's a scoreboard. Can you actually buy that scoreboard? No. The scoreboard simply tells you how the game is going. That's exactly what the S&P 500 index does. It simply tells you, or tells us, how around 500 of America's biggest companies are doing. Right? They all are in this little box, included with the other dots I drew, and 494 more of them. They are all under this umbrella right here. So if Apple has a great day, Amazon has a great day, Microsoft has a great day, then the S&P 500 as a whole normally goes up. And if lots of these companies are having a bad day, the S&P 500 normally goes down. Make sense? So remember, the S&P 500 index is just a scoreboard. Okay. So now you're probably thinking, what is SPY? If I can't buy the scoreboard, then what is SPY? Now, I'm not talking about a detective. It's what you would call an ETF. Now, don't let that word scare you. An ETF is simply a basket. Okay, imagine a basket. This is a basket. My best version of a basket, okay? Imagine you walk into a grocery store and instead of buying one apple, one orange, one banana, one grape, one strawberry, one pineapple, whatever, you buy one fruit basket. Imagine you buy this fruit basket right here, okay? It's a basket that holds lots of investments together. So instead of buying tiny pieces of 100 companies individually, people can buy SPY. SPY is an ETF that tries to follow the S&P 500 index. So when the scoreboard goes up, SPY normally goes up, and when the scoreboard goes down, SPY usually goes down. It follows each other, okay? All right. So why doesn't SPY show up on Topstep? Because Topstep is futures, right? And SPY is an ETF. Topstep is built for futures. So if I type SPY into here, nothing will come up. So if you're trying to trade that, you just can't do it. Okay. So what is ES? ES, okay, let's talk about ES. ES right here is something called the E-mini S&P 500 futures contract. So it goes like this: S&P 500 index, the SPY ETF, and then ES futures. Think about it this way. SPY and ES are two different vehicles driving on the same road. One is an ETF, one is a futures contract, but they're both following the same S&P 500 index. So this chart I'm looking at right now is ES, okay? This chart right here is ES. I typed in ES and it came up S&P 500. If I pulled up a SPY chart beside it, you notice that usually they move in the same direction because they're both based on the same S&P 500 index. All right, so let's make this really simple. And one final recap here: the companies, right, that we drew here, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Costco, Microsoft, and all these other companies, they make up the S&P 500 index, and this is simply the scoreboard. SPY is an ETF that follows that scoreboard. ES, oops, ES is a futures contract that also based on that same scoreboard. Different products, same scoreboard. So the next time someone says SPY is up today, you'll know that they're talking about the ETF that follows the S&P 500 index. And if you're a futures trader like me, I trade NQ, but you could be trading ES on Topstep as well. Okay, I tried to break this down as easy as possible, and if this made sense, please hit subscribe because I post beginner-friendly trading videos. I try to post something every single day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All love, comment, like if you liked it, and I'll see you guys on Monday.